if it's going to work, maybe I've picked a shift, I will make sure I've gone to work, even if I don't feel like going, right? Okay. If it's going to school, I will make sure I've gone to school, even if I don't feel like it. But why is it that I'm supposed to do these other things that are also within my goals, but if I don't feel like it, I will just leave? So what I'm doing differently is being intentional in terms of taking everything that I'm doing like a job, like it actually matters. And it's a concept I've just realized or come up with.
Welcome back to the Balance It podcast. In this podcast, we talk all matters, purpose, wellness, personal development, and lifestyle.
And in today's conversation, we're going to have a review of our half-year goals. You remember the first the first month, we had tips on goal writing. So we are going to do a review of how far we are in this year and what we can do better. I am your host, Gertrude Nasike.
And I am your host as well, Eda Onyoni. And let's just dive into it. Definitely, we wrote our goals at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
How far are you?
I would say, in terms of percentage, I would say I'm at 50. Yeah, and I think as we go deeper into the video, we will know how, because there are some of the goals that I'm actually on track, but there are some which I still really need to do a lot of work on them.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm almost there as well. Almost 50, but not 50. Because most of my goals at the beginning of the year were like slow goals, but they are building into these bigger goals that I wanted to do after half of the year. So I can say I am almost 50, but not yet 50. Let me put like at 40, around 40%.
That's really
40%.
nice. So it means we should expect like just an explosion after the second half.
It's because the slow goals were helping the bigger goals, but now the bigger goals were now like my major goals for the year,
which should be after
the second. So it is giving me pressure right now.
Yeah.
I have to achieve them because I have been slowly building these ones, which are a build up onto the bigger ones.
That's really good, and I think I love how you've put it that it's you had smaller building blocks to something that is actually bigger, and it just helps us understand that it's very good to be patient while building something and just trusting the process, knowing that at the end of it all is gonna pay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So just to continue, I think we can just try to understand why is it important to review our goals, because I've written the goals. I can just go along with them all the way to December. Why is it important for us to do a review of our goals, depending on whichever timelines you choose?
And I think reviewing goals is not just a media thing that we need to do. Like just based on whatever that you've been doing every month on our accountability group. Just to bring you at par, we have an accountability group where we run it as Balance It podcast. And in case you also want to join in, we meet every twice a month. The second week of every month, and also the last week of the second and the last week of every month. So we just talk about, we have conversations on different matters, and also we talk about our goals, where we are at so far, and any help that you need. We get to just have a conversation, and we have a community that we are in, and they are also giving us ideas. We give us our ideas, we give them our ideas, and just grow in that whole that whole community.
Yeah. And just before you continue, to add on what you said, we also during these meetings we have specific times allocated to actually review your goals or to work on your goals. So it really helps us to stay accountable without waiting for a long period, because every twice in a month, if you've not done it on your own, at least there's a specific time slot allocated for you to intentionally just go through the goals again and try to adjust them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can continue.
Yes. So back to our media goals. So those were like our monthly goals that we keep on reviewing monthly.
Yeah.
So back to our media goals. Yes. So one of the importance of actually reviewing your goals, it helps you see if you are on track.
Yeah.
Because there is no need of you to write down goals and don't monitor, evaluate whether whatever that you are doing is actually being on track with maybe the bigger goal.
True.
For example, myself, if I have the same way I have said that I have like a bigger goal at the after the second after the media. Now for those specific goals, if I don't track whether I am in line with now the bigger goal, which is my main goal, then definitely I will not be able to achieve that bigger goal, because I have not been able to achieve these smaller goals. Smaller goals. So I think my number one reason why I review my goals is definitely to see whether I'm on track. And if I'm on track, what am I doing right? What am I doing right so that I can continue doing it? And what am I doing wrong so that I can see how to take a detour from that wrong thing that I am doing? So definitely tracking progress is very important for me.
That's really great, because I think for me it's just the same thing as well. Just to add on what you said, for me, I review my goals to ensure that I've not completely forgotten about them, because sometimes, especially if you don't go back, even trying to just read, look through your goals, because sometimes it happens to me, like I've stayed maybe for a week and I'm waiting for the next meeting to start looking at the goals, and then I realize there's some goals that I know I have, but they're kind of lost somewhere. I cannot remember them correctly. But once I go through again whatever I wrote and whatever I've written for that month, it just reminds me of where I am and gives me that strike to go back to work to it. And also, as you've said, tracking like maybe for me, mostly I use different maybe apps depending on whichever goal. If it's a fitness goal, I do it on the calendar. If it's financial goal, maybe spending, I do on another app. We already talked about it, Money Lover. So it really helps me to track and just understand where you need to change, or to know where the rain might start beating you.
Yeah, before it beats you.
And also just to project maybe whatever it is for the future, because sometimes you'd find there's some things that you're doing right now that you did the same way last year, you see. So definitely, while you're reviewing these goals, you will get to understand, it seems like these are the same activities I was doing the previous year and probably they did not work. Yeah. So you try and really adjust. And this can only be done once you've like reviewed your goal and you've gone through your goals again.
Yeah. And I like the way you talked about the different ways of tracking your goals. I've heard you say about, yes, definitely Money Lover.
Yeah. Did you start using it?
Yes. Nice. Yes. Consistently, and every month I try to ensure that my bank account and my Money Lover account are actually balancing.
Wow.
So I think it's actually a good platform, and you need to check me right now. How I do
I will. I think after this episode, I will go through it.
And then now, yes, you also talked about fitness. You track your goals on the calendar. You said. Yes, I liked that. I like the way you said it, because how I track mine is money lover number one, and also just continuously checking where I am at. Like, I don't have a specific place that now maybe if it is my spiritual wellness, am I really on track? Like, I don't have a specific thing, but I think having that thing, like maybe the calendar or those specific apps, is a good way. And I think I will implement that, because you get to actually see, I was here before and now I am here. And it is not just in your mind, but it is actually either on paper or somewhere that is visible.
Yeah, it's like an evidence. It actually reminds me of, there's this song where this singer, she's Naomi Renee, like she says, where you are right now is a prayer you had already prayed before. You see, so like whatever you're doing right now or where you are right now, it might be even in terms of your goals, there's an evidence that it already happened. So when you already have maybe in the calendar, you're seeing you've been consistent in doing something, or you've been consistent in a particular goal, and then you're feeling maybe lethargic after maybe 3-4 months, or you're feeling like you don't have the drive. When you look at that calendar, the previous one, you just feel like, I was actually here, and this is an evidence that I can actually still do it. And I think it just reminds me of also how I track, or how I try to motivate myself, or try to reaffirm myself in terms of maybe my mental wellness, or sometimes just my behavior, maybe the way I behave towards people, or where I am right now. Sometimes you might feel maybe there's an imbalance, or maybe something has really changed within you. And then I go back to my previous journals, or my previous gratitude journals and affirmations. And I feel like whoever was writing at that time is the same person who is writing at this time, but there are two different feelings, or there are two different ways of expression within those two periods. And if I noticed that maybe this time before I was so happy and these things were coming so naturally, it gives me motivation, or it gives me a reason to really look forward to doing something new, knowing that there's an evidence I was once there, and it means I can still go back. So I think also tracking using your previous journals can also help you in achieving your goal. Maybe it's a mental wellness goal, or just staying consistent in something else.
I agree. And it brings me to my other point of why I track my goals is actually to celebrate my small successes.
That's very important.
Because these are the successes that will build up to the bigger major goal. So if I don't celebrate these, maybe let me not put them small, these successes that I have at the current moment, then even if that major big goal comes, I will still feel like I have not achieved as much as. So for me, it's like any progress that I make, I celebrate it.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, which is a good thing, because it keeps you motivated that the next time I do this, I have to reward myself with this. So it gives you that push that you have to do it, so that you can be able to reward yourself for maybe this specific thing that you've been wanting for a very long time.
Wow. Yeah. That's really good. And I like that point of celebrating yourself. It really motivates you to really just keep pushing forward and showing up in your authentic self. And just in relation to celebrating your successes, like how what has worked for you, let's say for the previous 6 months, when you analyze in terms of whichever goals you were making. For you, maybe for instance, the first 6 months were to build on the bigger goals. Like, what has really worked for you, apart from now, like maybe the community we have right now?
One, it might look small, but it's big, is the gratitude jar that we began doing it this year. So what happens with the gratitude jar is that every specific week you write down something good that happened during that specific week. And it is something that we borrowed from another influencer back in Kenya. And how this has made me feel like right now, where I am at right now, it's like every week I have to accomplish something. So at the beginning of every week, I normally just do my weekly thing is like at the beginning of every week I write down what I need to do that whole week. And then now when I'm writing down what I'm supposed to do that whole week, then I put one specific thing that is major, that is going to contribute me putting it in the gratitude jar. So with that, I get to see whether that specific week it was a success. Now that is like my measure of success in that specific week. And let me tell you, it has really worked for me, because once I do that, I ensure that that specific thing, I do it either on Tuesday or Wednesday, because that is when the week is a little bit heavy. I ensure that I do it within those 2 days, and I put it in the gratitude jar. And that gives me motivation to continue the rest of the week.
Wow.
Like that has really worked for me. I don't know how your experience has been with the gratitude jar.
It has really been good for me. I've been doing like gratitude journaling like on a daily basis. It's a practice I started last year September, but when it came to the gratitude jar, when we say that we need to be thankful for something that has happened in a week, I normally analyze from whatever I've written within the week, because sometimes it might be the prompt in the app can be just like, be grateful even for the weather, or for just waking up to a sunny day, you see. So I try to really assess like whatever I feel like I was most gratitude to, or I was most grateful about in that week, and now take it as a highlight for my gratitude in that week. But as you said, it totally gives you a different kind of feeling, and it gives you motivation. And just as I've said, I normally go back to my previous gratitude when I'm feeling so bad, maybe bad, or I'm struggling with something, and then I go back and I find maybe a gratitude a particular journal I made about that specific thing that I'm doing right now. Let's say if it's studying, maybe there was a time I was so deep into it, but maybe right now I'm feeling a bit slow or lethargic. When I go back there, it really gives me that motivation that you can really do it, because you were here before, you say. Yeah. And just to add on what you said, for me, what has worked is goal script reading. It's something I even said at the beginning of the goals video the first time we did it. When I wake up, as part of my routine after prayers and all the other things that I try to be consistent with, I normally put the gratitude, not the gratitude journaling, but the goal script reading. Basically, I just wake up, I have my goal book. So let's see my goals for the month. I just read my goals aloud. Yes, it takes like 5 minutes, or even if it's not reading the goals aloud in the morning, but I just make sure somewhere along the way, maybe in that day or in that week, I just go through my goals again. And I remember there's a program I'm currently doing, and I think you're also doing it. They were giving us these tips for maybe staying consistent with things, you see. And they were like, when you read your goals, you're going to find that they get to stick more. And also, you try and just make sure that you specifically allocate time to working on your goals. So for me, as much as, yes, I specifically allocate time, like they were saying, you have goals. Maybe you have a fitness goal, you have study goals, you have maybe career goals, even if it's to apply for a job. Specifically, make sure you time slot in that day or in that week, a specific time to work on each of those goals. Because you might find that maybe you've just concentrated on going to school alone. Your work is just going in the morning to class and coming back in the evening, and you feel like you had a productive day, but you realize no, you're only following one goal is alone. Or your work is your career or working as a student, you find that you just work for all the time, and then you feel like, my life is actually productive and I'm getting this money, but you've forgotten there's so many other goals that you've not tackled. So they were saying that you need to allocate specific time for this. And what I do nowadays, even for the goal script reading, if I've not found time to do it in the morning, because my morning routine also depends also on how my day starts, or my at what time my day starts. So you find that I would allocate a specific time, even if it's in the afternoon, maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, just to intentionally go through those goals again. That has really worked for me, because it keeps reminding me things that I had forgotten about. It just keeps reminding me, and I'm like, I need to get back to it. You see? Yeah, so that has really worked for me as well during this period.
And you talked about consistency. And consistency is one thing that has also worked for me so much. From the year started and where we are at right now. Last year, I struggled so much with procrastination. And this year, now being your friend and also seeing you push yourself, especially now in fitness, and just seeing that consistency, I try to tap into that. And I can say that consistency has made me even feel better, even when I am, even in whatever that I am doing, and has also given me like confidence, because you see, with consistency, you get to put in a lot of work in a specific thing, and you get to grow and build yourself.
True.
Like as you continue doing that thing. So I think consistency for me has really worked so much for me. And I could just advise anyone to just be consistent, even in the smallest thing that you really want to achieve as your goal. Try consistency. Try for like a whole week. You don't even have to try. Okay, let's just start with a day. Tell yourself you're gonna wake up at this time, then do this at this time. Then repeat that for like 3 days and see the difference. And then after that, you can decide now whether to continue with that or now leave it alone, because that is how I did it for myself. I just started with one specific behavior that I wanted. And now that, and I started with fitness, and then now that trickled down into other things that I actually didn't know that it could have that effect on me.
Yeah, true. That's even what I wanted to add. You've said it perfectly. Like the ripple effect is just unmatched, and you do not realize it. You just start feeling like it's not hard for you to follow through with other things. Because it's a behavior you've created. And that's really nice. And I think as much as we have things that have really worked for us, we've also had so many obstacles along the way.
Definitely.
Because they're just those days or those weeks that are also not so easy. I don't know what obstacles or challenges you faced.
There are so many.
Just mention them.
There's so many, but I'll start with fear. There is the fear of the unknown that we are always dealing with. Even if you are consistent, even if you are doing it whatever that you want to do, however you want to do it, there is still that fear. What if? At least now it is shifting from what if, what will people say about me, to now, am I doing it the right way? How am I going to approach it? Because maybe it is another bigger thing. It is another bigger obstacle that you have not tackled before. And now I've realized over time it has been, fear has always come in when it is something new that I'm trying to introduce. So I'm like, am I going to see it through to the end? Like those are the kinds of fears that I'm now facing. It's now not external, but it is now internal. And I think it is a step, but still I can still say that fear has still been in me, because now it is a battle from within, now not from
the external world.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that is really relatable. But how have you handled it?
Just doing it. Just doing it
regardless. Even if you're shaking and it's like you're going to fall.
Yeah, just doing it.
For me, I think I would say the challenge I've faced is fatigue. Like, you do get burnt out, especially if you have a lot of things. And I think it's something I had not noticed before. Like, even while back at home, back in Kenya, like my small brother would keep telling me, like, Giti, you need to slow down. But I just keep going, which is also not a good thing, you see. And I realized maybe back at home things were not so many because I was done with school, and maybe I was focusing on a specific thing or just one or two things. But right now, you see, you're focusing on so many things. You have school, you have what, maybe you're looking for a career, you have just a number of things. And all this is me. I just want them to be over and done with,
Yeah.
But also, I've just tried nowadays. I'm practicing the art of just being patient and just knowing that at the right time it will happen. And then what has now helped me in managing now the fatigue and the burnout, I remember for the first let's say 2.5 months of the year, I would really feel that it take a heavy toll on me, because maybe everything was everywhere. But recently, I just came up with a plan to schedule and make sure that things are done within the 5 days of the week, Monday to Friday, whether it's the core part of my goals or an extra or something I'm doing on the side other than the core parts of my goals. They just have to be done within the week, because I realize in between the week I have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Especially in between classes, like you would leave class, then go back to the house. You have maybe a difference of like 3 hours to the next class. Initially, I was doing nothing.
And you couldn't even realize. So fast.
And then it gets to now, Thursday evening or Friday, you feel like, I now have a lot of things. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And now you start working or studying or finishing up assignments maybe by the end of till late, you see, and then you feel you don't rest. So I realized I was trying to look at the time gaps I have, and I realized I have so much time. And so I really try to fix everything within that thing. And then recently I've gone back to writing my to-do list with a pen, with a pen on a paper.
A physical person.
Really, it is. It's worked for me before, and it's also still working right now. I love the online thing, the to-do list app. But I feel like it has been giving me, let's say, headache, maybe because of the too much exposure to the screen light as well. Because every time I'm done with a task, I need to go back and cancel it out, and then you need to scroll. So I feel like it has really been affecting me. So I've just gone back to the physical one, and it's really working. I no longer feel that fatigue, and I feel like I can follow through with it very well, and that has really worked for me right now. Yeah.
And you just talked about the to-do list app, and I remember it's something that we learned from somebody in the accountability group.
Yes,
and I would just still reinstate the power of a community.
Yes,
because we don't know everything.
Yes.
And we keep on learning and learning and learning from each other.
Yeah.
Especially if you have now like so many people around you, then it's easy to continue learning and just growing your knowledge. And also, using no, taking in whatever that you're being told, trying it if it is aligned with you, and whatever that is not aligned with you, you just drop it. It's
true.
Very easy. It's very easy.
Very true. And I think just to add on that is that we also need to understand that we can't do everything. Please, please. don't hear maybe Eda is doing I don't know which program, or she's doing a particular activity, and then you also want to join in, or you're just getting so many emails, there's this thing you can register, there's this. No. Just choose what works for you, because you're going to be frustrated and it will derail your focus from a specific goal that you're actually carrying through to just a divided focus. And I think it just reminds me of a particular guest we had who was saying that even when it comes to career, these people want, or employers want, someone who is best or who is good at a specific thing. They don't want someone who knows everything, like someone who knows fitness, who can fly the plane, who can, I don't know, like you can do multi-million things. It is good to know, to have diverse knowledge, but also just have a specific focus on something. That is what will also help in just your goals and ensuring that you're also still on track.
Yeah, definitely. So something else that has just come to my mind is on time management. And I think it's very important when you talk about what is it? What did you call it? You call it something, time slotting. When you talk about time slotting, that is in time management. So if you don't know how to manage your time, then definitely all these goals that we are talking about, it's better we just don't even talk about it, because we are wasting time.
True that.
So just let us know what has worked for you, and what are you going to do different. You've talked about, you told us what has worked for you.
Yes.
So what are you going to do different based on now your experiences in these in the first half of the year, and maybe just to advise somebody as well what they can do in those specific areas.
So for me, I would say one thing that I'm going to do differently, and it's something that I've already started doing, is ensuring that I treat my schedule within the week like a job. I'll treat school like a job, in terms of being very intentional. Because what I normally think about nowadays is, how I normally think about it is, maybe if it's going to work, maybe I've picked a shift, I will make sure I've gone to work, even if I don't feel like going, right?
Yes.
Okay. If it's going to school, I will make sure I've gone to school, even if I don't feel like it. But why is it that I'm supposed to do these other things that are also within my goals, but if I don't feel like it, I will just leave? So what I'm doing differently is being intentional in terms of taking everything that I'm doing like a job, like it actually matters. And it's a concept I've just realized or come up with recently. Because right now, even if I don't feel like maybe calling your clients or making follow-ups, and I'm like, no, if it was a shift, I would have, even if I don't know, because I know the consequences of not going after you've picked it, right? If it was school, I know the consequences of not going to school or not doing schoolwork, so I will have to do it. And also right now, if it's calling clients or working on some of my other goals, it means that I need to do them because I know the consequences of not doing it. And this has really enabled me to take everything positively. And just I will continue also with the time slotting, or making sure that every other thing fits on between Monday to Friday, so that I have Saturday and Sunday now to rest or to move around and just to rejuvenate, because you need that energy back, after you've spent all that energy during the week. Yes, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Yes.
That is a really good way, and I think I can do that as well.
Please do.
I'll try to do that as well.
Just try and think, if it was work, even if Edda is dragging herself, I really don't want to go. But you'll just wake up in the morning and you find yourself, you've got, try and let us know how it works.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'll come back with the answer, with the feedback.
Okay.
So one thing I'm going to do, and it is something that I've also been doing and I'm still continuing to do, but it is something that I've struggled before doing, is proper planning. And in proper planning, ensuring that the hard things that I'm supposed to do within the day come at the beginning of the day when I am still fresh. Or depending with the time that I am fresh, that is when I put them, because they are morning persons and they are evening persons. So whenever time that I feel more fresh, and for me especially it's in the morning, I put the hard things there, because once the day has begun, there are a lot of things that normally arise up, such that going to the hard things, it's normally a hassle, because now you have a lot of small things and you feel like you can do all these small things in a very shorter time, and this one can wait. So you get that hard one goes to the next day and the next day and the next day, and you don't actually get to do it. So doing the hard things, the first things, like in the morning or when I am fresh. And now these other small tasks, doing one thing at a time. I'm supposed maybe to write an email. I'm supposed to talk to Gertrude. I'm supposed to talk to, I don't know, somebody else. All these things, they are small things. I can do them concurrently. I can start texting Gertrude, and then I start writing an email and then talk to somebody else. So, but at the end of the day, I'll realize I actually didn't talk to Gertrude. I just started. I didn't even send this message. This email that I was supposed to write, I didn't even finish it, because my mind is not there in that specific moment. It's like I'm operating from my subconscious mind and not in my conscious mind.
True.
So that is one thing that I'm trying to push myself so hard to do, so that I can actually get to move. Because if I just talk to you, if I'm supposed to tell you something about the podcast or anything, I'll just send the text, finish, done, write the email, done, whatever, done, and continue with the next thing. So that is something that I'm trying to do for myself, like just doing one thing at a specific time.
Hey, I think that is really good, and the fact that you've brought it up, I think the same thing as just having priorities.
Yes.
Nowadays, that's the word, priorities. It reminds me, 2 days ago, we were talking with a few friends at work, and they were like, sometimes you might work and then you get that money, and then you realize you don't have the money, and maybe you wanted to invest, and then people start wondering, where did you take your money? And for me and another lady, we were of the opinion, maybe people have a lot of things to do. People have, maybe someone has children they're taking to school, or someone needs to sort their family out. Like, there are a lot of things, responsibilities, that even someone might have a lot of money, but it ends up getting over. And then they were like, priority. And we're like, no, that's just life. But it still trickles down to priorities.
True.
But it's true, priorities. It is true, priorities. So that was just a by the way. And it just reminded me of so many other stories of priorities. But anyway, it's when you have like those priority tasks, it really helps in ensuring that you stay on track or you don't get burnt out. Recently, I was also talking to a mentor of mine, and he told me, like, we were doing the to-do list now, because I was like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed. And he was like, try and go back to the written to-do list, because that was actually an advice from him as well. Try and go back to the written to-do list, and then we see how it goes. And then he was like, afterwards, now you've managed, because the to-do list is something that I've always been consistent with. So he was like, try and think of those activities that are really not so important, but you just end up spending most of your time in. And or maybe the next to-do list you start writing, write them in order of your priorities, what you feel like needs to be accomplished first. And it reminded me, the next day I realized I had spent 4 hours just moving around the house, being busy, doing nothing but doing something on paper. Like, on paper it is, yes, this is what I was supposed to do, but after 4 hours I was like, no, 4 hours is too long to do that. And it just brought back that aspect of intentionality when it comes to even time slotting. So whatever you're saying is really good, and I think people should really embrace, when you're writing your to-do list or thinking about what you're going to do on that specific day, do them or write them in terms of those priorities. What do you want to achieve first? Is it schoolwork? Are there assignments that you want them to be achieved first? Or are they maintaining relationships with people? Maybe for you, the most important thing is to talk to Eda the entire time as your friend, or to call your siblings, your parents. Are those your priorities? Start with what you feel like they're most important to you, and they really need to be done. And I think that is very true in the case you've mentioned.
Yeah, and just on the same thing, because we are now talking about priorities.
Yeah.
Even if we wrote our goals at the beginning of the year, definitely there are so many things that have happened in between here that sometimes you don't get to stick to your actual goal.
Yeah, true.
Has that happened for you, and how did you even maneuver through that?
Yeah, that has really happened for me. It has happened because most of the time you find that maybe you projected to start a particular thing by a particular time, but maybe the other constraints, maybe financial constraints come in, or just other situations that arise. What I do is I just normally try to readjust maybe if it's my budget or my plan to actually achieve whatever I need to achieve at that time. And if it's a project, maybe you're working with someone, I normally try to communicate earlier, or just try to communicate that this is the situation, then probably this might delay because of this and these things. But another thing that has really also helped is when I was writing my goals for the year, I wrote them, but I also wrote time slots. So there are goals that I wrote in January, but I knew next to them I had written maybe to be achieved in September or by September. So I don't keep pushing myself so much and stressing myself out. So just going back and going through those goals each and every time, looking at the timelines probably that I need to have achieved them, it helps me in actually navigating and maneuvering. Because sometimes you might have a whole list of goals, but you don't have timelines, and your mind would think they need to be achieved, or you need to start working on them in January, all of them in January, which is also not the case. Some maybe just need to be worked on in the last 2 months of the year, So knowing this and just picking what is actually to be worked on within that specific period, and what is building up for what is next, is what has really helped me maneuver. Yeah.
Yes, also me, that's the same thing. And just to add on that, being open-minded, that I don't have to achieve this goal right now, despite it being in my list that I need to achieve it at the beginning. Oh, okay, maybe let's say by May.
Yeah.
Despite saying that in my list, and now maybe something else has has come up and now I can't be able to achieve it, I try to just give myself grace that it didn't happen, but it will eventually happen. But also there is the aspect of now not being too comfortable that the fact that it didn't happen now in May, then now you can even wait until December. No, just giving yourself grace, but also slotting it for another specific month that you are sure it is going to happen, because you already know what has happened. So I think that one has also happened has worked for me, just being open-minded and giving myself grace that things happen and you don't have to have achieved everything at whatever time that you had allocated it. And just being easy on myself, because I realized the burnout is very real, and we need our bodies to actually achieve our goals. We need our bodies to function. So just giving myself enough grace.
That's really nice. And sadly we have to come to the end of the episode. But I really hope like these practical tips would help you, and you can also share with us, like, this is a community we're building here, and whatever works for you might also work for us. You can also share with us in the comment section, and just to help us also learn from you just what has worked for you.
Definitely, yes. And don't forget to subscribe and share your comment down below. Do not forget. You want to hear what has worked for you in the past 6 months. How have you been? What has been happening? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What you are taking to the next half of the year. So comment down below. Definitely also don't forget to subscribe and share with your family and friends.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.